Hey, boys and girls, what's going on? It is the one and only Lee Sanders here. You are checking out an all new Impact Showdown coming at you guys for this Thursday night of April 6th, 2017. A very good Thursday night to you all. We are just a couple of minutes removed from a brand new Impact Wrestling as seen on Pop TV. I'm going to be coming at you guys for the next little bit, talking about this week's episode and a couple of key highlights with regards to Impact Wrestling news. Of course, I'm going to be talking about the recent departure of one Aron Rex, aka Damian Sandow, for you WWE fans. And we're going to talk about some surprising returns, we can say, and a debut on tonight's Impact Wrestling. As always, I want to hear from you guys. As always, pop your head in the chat as we're doing this simulcast live right now on Spreaker and on YouTube. And shout out to those of you that may be checking this out on demand. Definitely want you all to interact. So give me those comments and be sure to follow me on Twitter and Facebook at the RCWR Show. So this week, saw a lot of progress being made in a right direction as far as storyline continuity. Probably one of the first things that had kicked out to me the most was what exactly is going on with Josh Matthews. What exactly is going on with Jeremy Borash, because they've had this thing that's been going on for the past couple of weeks now that's just kind of made you go, okay, can we get this squashed already? But I like how Impact Wrestling had kicked off tonight. It kicked off with some great in-ring action as we saw Eli Drake take on a newcomer to the Impact roster in Khalid Conley. Really, really impressed by this young guy. I see a really bright career ahead of him. I definitely see some type of a scenario where maybe he can eventually go to the main event scene. Of course, I'd like for that to come way after Eli Drake. Anybody that has checked me out over the past couple of months when I have talked about Impact Wrestling, I've told you guys how much of a big fan I have been of one Eli Drake. Got to make sure I throw it out there like that. Got to emphasize it that way. But no, this was a really good matchup between these two guys. Pretty high pace, pretty much in your face. A little bit of a distraction coming from Titus to help out Eli Drake. Eli basically able to do a superplex on Conley. Follow that up with the blunt force trauma to pick up the victory. But I thought that was a really good, strong opener as he went back to JB and Jeremy Borash and Josh Matthews. It's easy to get your J's mixed up, man, I'm telling you. But either way, these two guys, they locked it up verbally, talking some hot mess. We saw Bruce Pritchard. He came out. Bruce Pritchard's like, look, I want both of you guys in the ring right now. We need to get this squash ASAP. And pretty much what Bruce Pritchard had came up with was, okay, I want to see both of you guys later tonight. I want you to figure out who could be part of your team. I want to see Team Josh taking on Team JB. We're pretty much going to settle this once and for all. So when you hear that, you're kind of going, okay, so how exactly is this going to be settled? Because we never did hear Bruce Pritchard say, whichever team wins this, well, the other broadcast announcer, they're going to be out of a job. We never heard anything of that nature. It was just pretty much, we're going to settle this. We're going to settle this once and for all. Team JB taking on Team Josh. So you're kind of led to the impression as you're hearing this. And keep in mind, I'm not overanalyzing this because all throughout tonight's episode, this was brought up repeatedly. It was brought up repeatedly to the point you couldn't help but pay more and more attention to, okay, so what exactly happens for the person that picks up the victory? So I'll come back to that in just a little bit. But yeah, that was pretty much your teaser right there, going into some of the matches that we have for this week. I told you about that first match that opened up Impact. We had got our second match. We pretty much had got about, I would say, 3 matches for the first hour. I was paying attention to how many matches we were getting per hour. 3 matches during the first hour. Your second match, we saw one battle royal where we had the knockouts going at it. This one was pretty much about whoever became the number one contender, they would go on to face Rosemary for the knockouts title. So your knockouts that consisted of this one, you had Ava Story, Rebel, Madison Rain, Amanda Rodriguez, somewhat still of a newcomer. Honestly, she may have been there a couple of weeks prior, but for me, on this very night, at least since I've brought back Impact Showdown, this was my first time seeing her. MJ Jenkins, DeMonte from LAX, ODB, and Brandy Rhodes. Those were your girls that were participating in this knockouts match. It was an elimination knockouts Royal Rumble match. Pretty much when it got down to the final two would then face off one-on-one, where you could win either via pinfall or submission. So it pretty much came down to ODB, Madison Rain. That pretty much was not that long of a one-on-one. It was pretty much a squasher, so to speak, for ODB. I was actually quite surprised at some of the booking that happened with regards to this match. And I'll tell you the reason why in a nutshell without going overkill. Part of me was looking at this and I was kind of thinking like, how interesting would it be if maybe Cody Rhodes were to cause some type of interference and maybe try to help out his wife? And then I was also thinking, how cool would it be if maybe Madison Rain got a little bit of help from Josh Matthews, since now he's being more and more vocal about his wife and all that. He's now kind of somewhat sticking his nose in her business, but not really. He's still kind of just kicking back on the reserve, letting her do her thing. But I was kind of thinking to myself, how cool would it be just to kind of have one of those guys kind of interfere in this, just so you can create a little bit of controversy or whatever? Because I know we got the hardcore fans that's out there that's really been very appreciative of the work of ODB. They appreciate an awesome knockout in ODB, but I also recognize the fact that even amongst veteran TNA Impact Wrestling fans, they kind of want to see more of a progress in younger talent, the newer talent that's there on the roster, be more established. Home in on the be more established, because I'm going to come back to that in a few seconds to bring up a very valid point on what I've been noticing with Impact Wrestling these past couple of weeks that I would like to see really get touched upon in the weeks to come. But ODB defeating Madison Rain, as I said, she's going to go on to take on Rosemary, I believe, next week for the Knockouts title. I did not see any type of a revisit as far as when this matchup is going to happen, but you're kind of led to the impression that maybe these girls are going to be locking it up next week, as we really didn't see that much emphasis on when this match, if and when it's going to be happening, which is kind of like, considering now some of you guys may be like, well, why was that the case, Lee? Well, that's because they really were hyping the hell out of Team JB taking on Team Josh Matthews. So you got that went down. Another thing that you saw go down on Impact Wrestling this week, we saw the Cowboy James Storm. Yes, the Cowboy James Storm making his return to almost his glory days, so to speak. I was quite happy with this, and I find it funny because if I'm not mistaken, on last week's episode, or the episode about 2+ weeks ago, I had told you guys how I really wasn't feeling this new version of James Storm that was floating around with the what was the stable, the OCC or the DCC, whatever the hell. They could be Pest Control or HVAC for all I care, but I really just was not feeling that. It just really kind of felt out of place for James Storm. It just really felt like it really wasn't clicking. So imagine how ecstatic I was to pretty much see, after I said what I said a few weeks ago, now we see the Cowboy James Storm. He comes back and he's saying, man, and it was the perfect setup. He says, I was kicking back at home and I was messing around with my kids, with my family and all. You know, my son came up to me. He wore a cowboy hat. I said, dang, why are you wearing that? And his son said, cuz I want to be like you, daddy. I want to be a cowboy. And it was then at that moment that James Storm realized that pretty much all his life, especially when it comes to his pro wrestling career, he's always been a cowboy. And he was reminded about his glory days in Impact Wrestling. He tweeted that when he became the World Heavyweight Champion, it was like one of the highest rated segments for Impact Wrestling in history. And that's like something that'll never be taken away from him. So, he admitted that, he misses being at the pinnacle, the top of that mountain. And he proclaimed that on this day going forward, he's going to do everything in his power to come back to being a Impact Wrestling champion. He wants to be a world champion once again. Now, we would see his former DCC, HVAC, HOV members come out, and they had a little bit of a issue with that. Of course, I am talking about Bram, and I am talking about Kingston. They took note of what he had said. And Kingston was really the one that was taking the main lead and voicing his discontent over the fact that James Storm has left them high and dry. He pretty much told them, hey, look, man, I don't give a damn about your bastard son. When it's all said and done, man, you lied to me. You lied to Bram. You promised us so many things. You told us, wear these stupid masks. And he threw the mask on the ground, broke it with his boot. He was like, you told us to wear these stupid suits. And he was taking off his suit. And, he was like, you told us to follow your lead, and good things will happen for us. And now look at what's going down. You're betraying us. You're leaving us high and dry. You're a liar, man. You're a damn hypocrite. James Storm really trying to clarify. He was like, look, when I came to you, you're the one that was asking me for the job. I told you, hey, look, I've got this really cool stable that I'm trying to put together. I reached out to you. I reached out to Bram. Y'all were down for it. I told you guys, I said, look, one of the main goals that we need to do with this stable, with this union we got, I'm trying to become world champion once again, and you all go after the tag titles. And we had an agreement. Somewhere along the way, we had a little bit of hiccups, and I was always focused, but in either case, there were hiccups, but I'm still focused. I'm still trying to go do me and still become world champion. Kingston really did not like that. He felt that at that point, James Storm was being a little bit selfish. And long story short, Kingston tried to attack the Cowboy, but he was met with a last call super kick. Bram had some type of a foreign object in his hand. He was gonna hit James Storm with it, but Storm's like, come on, man. Don't do me like that. You and me, we got a lot of history together. Come on, Bram. Who's thinking about it? He still tried to go in. He tried to attack James Storm. James pretty much knocked him out with a last call super kick as well. Pretty much just leaving them high and dry, grabbing the microphone afterwards, saying, hey, look, the Cowboy is back better than ever. And hey, as far as you two go, all I got to say is sorry about your damn luck. And that pretty much was the end of that segment. But I'm ecstatic that the Cowboy James Storm is back. I would imagine for the weeks to come that with regards to his former teammates, I would imagine they're going to continue to try to put some type of monkey wrench as far as into his aspirations to become world champion once again. I would imagine that's going to occupy him for the next couple of weeks. Could it possibly go into July with Slammiversary? It's very well possible. We'll see how that all plays out. Not on the show this week. No Ethan Carter III, if I am not mistaken. Yeah, I'm looking at my notes here for the show. Yeah, there was no cameo of EC3 whatsoever. Hopefully he'll pop up on next week's episode. Remember how I said to you guys last week, I hope this week we get Alberto El Patron. He was back this week as well. As a matter of fact, I'm kind of jumping ahead just a little bit, but I'd like to respectfully go while I'm still talking about El Patron, go to his matchup because he had faced a newcomer. And again, I didn't forget, but you guys remember how I was saying earlier as far as like continuity, things that Impact needs to improve on going forward. I want you all to still have that in the back of your mind because you're going to appreciate what I have to say at the very end when I put a nice, pretty ribbon around all this. So we saw Alberto El Patron. He had faced a newcomer. The guy almost looked like Perry Saturn 2.0. I BS you not. The only difference was This guy had like blonde kind of, if you know your WWE superstars, he kind of had like a Enzo Amore type of weird hair going on, but it was mohawk kind of, so to speak. And that guy, try to see what his name was. That guy was one John Boland. One John Boland. I didn't really get that much of a proper setup for him. Commentators really weren't painting the picture for us at home, you know. So when you see that, you're kind of like, but then you're kind of like, well, this guy has a really nice look. Okay, what's the backdrop? What's the 411 on this guy? And hey, you got me on that one. I type in the name John Boland in a Google Bing search, and I don't see nothing. Ain't nothing coming up. So you got me on that one. It's the one time in show history I'm looking up a wrestler and I didn't find nothing. So I'm going to be relying on you veteran wrestling fans to educate me and everybody else. Whether it's live in the chat or you're watching this on demand, I'm going to need to rely on you guys to post the comments below. Get us caught up to speed on this guy. And but it was a good match. I really liked the guy. You know, it was a squasher match, though. That was the only thing, because it was like by the time you admired this Bolan cat, the match felt like it was probably 3 minutes and it was just over. And you're like, well, that was like okay, I guess that was a good match. Yeah. So yeah, just a squasher of a match, man. Now, I was talking about EC3 earlier. There was a little bit of a cameo by him, because there was a JBL hashtag make impact great. And I just called my man JBL. I apologize, Jeremy Borash. And there was a make impact great. So we kind of saw a little bit of the history that was going on with JB, EC3. So, you know, when you saw that, you couldn't help it at that point kind of go, oh, yeah, I haven't seen EC3 yet. What's going on with him? But it is what it is. We had one match that kind of jumped out at me that I had enjoyed, but there was a little bit of confusion. And I felt a lot of confusion throughout tonight's episode. I told you guys what was going on earlier as far as Team Josh taking on Team JB, which I still have not really, you're going to appreciate what I have to say about that one. But this is one where I was really scratching my head, kind of going, okay, can we elaborate on this a little bit more? So we see a video package of everything that's been going on with Andrew Everett and Trevor Lee up to this point. And it leads to a backstage segment where McKenzie is interviewing Everett, trying to get his thoughts on, you know, what currently is going on with him and pretty much the Helms dynasty and all. And Shane Helm actually pops up and he goes, okay, so, you know, look, I saw what you did last week. That was okay and all, but, you know, why don't you see what you can do with this triple threat match that you got coming up in a few seconds? And maybe, just maybe, that'll get you one step closer at having a shot for the X Division title with Trevor Lee. So we see that triple threat match. It was Everett defeating Masha Rockets. And who was the other guy? Suicide. We saw Everett defeat Masha Rocks via shooting star press. Pretty ass shooting star press too, by the way. All these guys, very good. Masha Rockets, you know, when you hear a lot of these names, sadly, and I think we can now kind of go there, quite honestly, because at this point, everything else, if you're a longtime Impact Wrestling fan, you pretty much know all the other faces. But let's really home in on this. So we've got a lot of these new guys. We've got a lot of faces that only the hardcore of hardcore wrestling fan, not necessarily an Impact Wrestling fan, but just wrestling fans in general. Unless you're a hardcore wrestling fan, you don't know any of these people that you're seeing on your television. And that creates such a huge problem. You look at this particular matchup that I just talked about, And then you go earlier in the night with the Knockouts Battle Royal elimination match, and there are like so many faces, and you're like, okay, well, they got a nice look. Okay, they seem to have some nice moves, but and I think for the people watching at home, I think it's a little bit unfair that they are in a position where they've either got to go on their phone or their tablet, whatever, automatically when they see these people on their TVs for the very first time, and they're trying to figure out, okay, well, who is this person? What promotions have they worked for? What? And I think we're in a position nowadays, at least when it comes to the Impact brand, where we're relying too heavily on the commentators to try to educate us on who are these people that we're watching, the promotions that they've been with. We're relying on them more than ever. But guess what? When you have your commentators doing constant bickering, name calling each other, slandering each other, it's really hard to get into what you're watching play out before your eyes in the middle of the ring. And then you're trying to figure out, okay, well, who's who are these people? So I can't stress this enough. I appreciate what Impact Wrestling is doing with these video packages, and they've got JB and Josh Matthews, and they show some of these other wrestlers talking about what they want to do in their part to make Impact great again. But on the flip side to that, we need to see a scenario play out where Impact Wrestling tries to do their very best introducing you to a lot of these wrestlers. Introduce you properly. Do like a 90-second little vignette thing. Go back to cutting little promos. Like, how when the wrestler would come out for their match somewhere in a split screen, or maybe in a lower corner or upper corner somewhere, you get the wrestler that'll pop up, some basically pre-match warm-up thoughts or whatever, or wrestler pretty much tells you, the viewer at home, a couple of things about them, why you should give a damn about them, all that. Well, we kind of need to see that implemented more and more in Impact Wrestling, because there are so many names that are popping up. Now, look, Impact Wrestling has a really good idea on, okay, this is going to be our regular. This is who we're going to be going to on a somewhat semi basis for TV shows. They already have that idea. So if they already have that idea who they're going to be using for X amount, I think it's only fair that they take that proper time to really try to lay down some type of a foundation to make us as the viewers, okay, now I understand. Now I have a little bit of the backdrop. Now I kind of have somewhat of history meets, okay, now I can decide whether or not I want to try to invest in this talent. We really need to get to that point, because if we do not get to that point, you're just sitting back and you're watching, you're like, hey, the in-ring action is pretty good, but as far as establishing people, laying down the foundation, making these characters stand out as individuals rather than just a bunch of people in the ring, you got to work on that. Otherwise, it's just buzz. So I really hope they work on that in the weeks to come. Based on what I've been seeing the past couple of weeks, there's a nice, talented bunch of young men and women that's in there. And I appreciate what they're doing for our entertainment purposes. But yeah, I honestly, you want to make Impact great, that's really a good, strong area where you really need to start. So we saw a fantastic last man standing match between Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards. I love this, especially from the moment that the match had began. Both guys, well, at least Davey Richards, he was making his way to the ring. And you're like, okay, so Eddie Edwards is probably going to come on. No, it's a last man standing match. Forget the formalities. Forget waiting for the bell to ring. This went down exactly how it was supposed to go down, with Davey Richards just not even waiting for the bell. It's his time to come out. He jumps Davey Richards from behind. Love that. That was great storytelling. So they did right there. I love these two guys going back and forth. I mean, I almost had shades of what they were doing in ROH and all that. So, the fact that I've been following these guys for such a long period of time, honestly, I'm glad that Impact Wrestling. Now, this is actually kind of one thing that they have been doing right, I must say, to a degree. I like what they've been doing with the Wolves, and now they're in this whole feud thing with one another. You got Angelina Love and Davey Richards. They're now the natural born killers and all that. Or as I like to think of Angelina Jolie, um, I'm sorry, Angelina Love. I got my Angelinas mixed up. Angelina Love. I like to think of her as Kelly Conway. I mean, does she not look like that girl or not? I mean, seriously. But no, I digress. No, seriously, picking it up, final moments of this great matchup. And hey, we saw steel chairs, all types of foreign objects being used in this matchup. I loved it. It was a great, nice spot fest. But they got the women involved once again. Yeah, the guys' wives, they're going at it. But closing moments of the match, we had saw Angelina Love. She had grabbed a very weakened, very dazed, almost kind of knocked out Eddie Edwards, grabbed him from behind as he was on his knees, and she's telling her husband, Davey, come on, finish him. So he puts a nice big bulk of steel chains around his boot, like towards his foot, and he's actually getting ready to just kick the living crap out of Eddie Edwards, but he has second thoughts. And we see Angelina, she comes up to him and she's like, come on, do this for us. Come on now. And she takes his hand, put it on her chest. So I guess he can feel her heartbeat. I guess the adrenaline rush that she's getting from it, the excitement or whatever. And she kisses him and he goes on ahead and he just kicks the living crap out of Eddie Edwards. And that pretty much was it. That was it. That's all she wrote. Our man, Davey Richards, he had won that last man standing match. So kind of look at that. You're wondering now what exactly is going to be happening for the next couple of weeks. Are they going to sell this in such a way where Eddie is going to sell the injury? He's going to be off for a couple of weeks. Smart booking. I mean, I would definitely go that route. But their rivalry, I just don't see it being done just yet. Other than that, some other action that we had got on this week's Impact Wrestling. Looking at the final notes here, I think we pretty much covered everything except for Team JB and Team Josh Matthews. I'm just double checking one more time. And yeah, guys, we're actually caught up, believe it or not. LAX, they made somewhat of a cameo. There was a video package that was shown. It was a nice little promo. It basically showed them they were getting their party on and everything. And Conan, he basically was saying you can't stop a revolution. You can't stop a revolutionary. No, actually, I got my words mixed up again. You can stop a revolutionary, but not a revolution. You got to think about that one, don't you? And we saw LAX. They were getting a drink on and celebrating the fact that they were able to bring home the tag titles to LAX. So nice little spot right there by LAX. Next week, we apparently are going to be seeing the women that have been popping up, little cameos here and there, talking about Havoc is coming and all that other stuff. Or there's some new faction that is called the Veterans of War. BS or not, a vignette shown of a new faction called the Veterans of War. And there were clips from a George W. Bush speech that was shown. There's a bunch of military footage that's from the 2003 Iraq conflict. So it was about 40 seconds long when you see this. And, it was an interesting video package, if you ask me straight up. What's going on with this one? You got me on that one. But the vignette, it was like these two, they answered the ultimate call. And when Operation Iraq Freedom went down, I'm actually watching it in real time right now with you guys. It's a great little video package that they put together. One of the guys, for sure, it's Crimson. I would imagine the other guy, oh, yeah, it's Crimson. All right, I know exactly who it is now. Yeah, because I missed this as I was getting ready to do the show for you guys. So one of the guys looks like it's Crimson, and the other guy, his name is on the tip of my tongue. I actually had him on my show a couple of years back, and he was an awesome guest. And we did like about probably, I think our interview lasted about 45 minutes. Gunner. I'm pretty sure the guys that make up that respected stable we're going to be seeing next week looks like it's Crimson and it looks like it's Gunner. So part of me was thinking maybe it was going to be that Hispanic guy with the one leg. His name escapes me because at one point I see him and then he's off Impact Wrestling television for like several weeks. I want to say Mendez. Don't quote me on that. If I messed up his name in advance, don't beat me up. I apologize in advance. But yeah, so that looks like that's going to be going down. And then let's not also forget we got supposedly Havoc that's going to be breaking loose on next week's Impact. We got a little bit of a better idea who possibly is going to be showing up. And I got to tell you guys, it really appears as though I don't believe in spoilers. I refuse to check out spoilers. I want to be entertained as much as you all want to be entertained. And strong heads up. Anybody that posts spoilers, this is your warning shot right now. Anybody that posts spoilers in the comment section, your joint is automatically going to be removed because we don't want to spoil this for those that have not seen Impact yet. So that's your first warning. I'll remove it. If you do it again, you basically get 2 strikes. You just get blocked from commenting on the second time. So don't take it personal, but I am willing to give you a first verbal warning shot. But I'm under the impression that next week, this Havoc, because it looks like it's now 2 women, maybe 3, but definitely 2 women. I'm thinking Jessica Havoc, and based off the silhouette that I saw of the other woman, maybe Karma, aka Awesome Kong, Kia Stevens. I would think maybe it's those 2 that's going to be coming to wreak havoc in Impact Wrestling. So we'll wait and see how that plays out. Now, let's get to this main attraction of the night. We basically, and yes, there was a little bit of a cameo by Ali and Braxton Sutter. They're still continuing their odd little program with Sienna and her cousin. We saw Karen Jarrett. She popped up. My God, can I be honest? Can I be candid with you guys? Never in all my life, as long as I have been watching wrestling, I would have to say, God, I go back as far as the early 80s. When it comes to female authority figures that like you're supposed to respect, you're supposed to have in high regard. When you see them, they are a leader. They are a person in such a strong position, executive position, that you have to respect them. And I say that for very good reason, because we've got this whole, and this is just stupidity booking for me one-on-one. So we have this scenario that plays out where Karen Jarrett last week, she's confronted by Sienna's cousin, and he's acting like he's about to pull a Ray Rice on her if she doesn't apologize, right? And you're going, damn, well, you know, what the hell? And I told you guys, check out last week if you missed it, but I told you all why that particular segment was a hugely missed opportunity for Impact writers to like really help excel the Karen Jarrett face executive character. Huge opportunity that they missed. So we go to this week, and for the love of God, I'm just thinking back to authority figures. Stephanie McMahon, when she was much younger, I do remember a very voluptuous, kind of risque dressing type of Stephanie McMahon. But, you know, when I think about Karen Jarrett, what I saw tonight, I saw nothing but boobs. I'm not being sexist in any type of way. I don't have my mind in the gutter. you got to actually go back and you got to look at the images that came from this week's episode. I swear to God, if you look any harder, you might have been able to see a nipple slip. I mean, that's how like risque the cleavage was. So, I mean, you see this going down, and you're kind of like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to take this woman seriously? This woman is supposed to be some type of a executive. She's supposed to be calling rough shots in Impact Wrestling when she looks like a freaking stripper. You know, she looks like somebody that's on the stage of a porn set. I just was not feeling that, man. I was not feeling that. It was very odd. It made me uncomfortable, not in a erotic type of way. Look, I love a good woman when I see a good looking woman, but that was just like, wait a minute, we need to dial back on this. So I just thought that it just rubbed me the wrong way. I just do not like the execution of the Karen Jarrett executive role character right now. I'm not feeling it. Something's got to change from the attire for starters to just like the demeanor. I'm just not really feeling it. I do appreciate Impact Wrestling kind of scaling back though dramatically on the Karen Jarrett character as hopefully in the weeks to come, we will just continue to see situations where she's just interacting with talent backstage and it's just like grand total, like a 5-minute deal. Hopefully it continues to stay like that. So let's talk about this last moment of the night. We pretty much saw Jeremy Borash meet one JB. Damn it, I got my J's mixed up again. You gotta forgive me. Jeremy Borash, Josh Matthews. Why is it so damn hard for me to remember these J's? Either way. So they decided they were going to pick their teams. I got a bone to pick with this, by the way. Number one, what is up for grabs? Is this bragging rights? Is a broadcaster going to be out of a job? Why exactly is this happening? That really was not truly clarified. I repeat, it was not clarified. So we see JB. Actually, let's start with Josh because JB had the surprises on his side. Josh, he picks Bobby Lashley, Bram, Eli Drake, and Tyrus. Those are the guys he decided to go with. JB, he decided to go with Alberto El Patron. And he went with, who was the second? Yeah, there was 4 guys, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. JB went with Alberto El Patron. He went with a returning Matt Morgan, the Blueprint Matt Morgan. Can I spend a few minutes just talking about the Blueprint Matt Morgan? I am so freaking glad that Matt Morgan is back in Impact Wrestling because I felt that was a guy who should have been an Impact Wrestling champion. I felt he should have been a TNA champion. There were so many opportunities that I felt like, okay, they seem to be going in that direction, especially if you look back on the Eric Bischoff, Hulk Hogan era. I would have to say the Hulkster, he definitely loved him some Matt Morgan. He tried his best to look out for Morgan to a degree. I thought probably one of the most silliest things that had happened for Matt Morgan was when he started teaming up with Joey Ryan. And I remember a couple of times that I had Joey Ryan on the show. The last time I had him, he definitely was pretty candid about Matt Morgan. Because as you all know, Joey Ryan is one of the co-founders for Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. So, I mean, the guy knows talent when he sees it. He knows a thing or two about booking. So when we talked about Matt Morgan, he was like straight up. He's like, yeah, if I'm starting a promotion or whatever, Matt Morgan's got all the tools that you would want to be a champion, to be a face for your promotion. I don't really understand, what was going on with him in Impact. Even he said that. So, for me, I always kind of felt that there were a lot of missed opportunities with Matt Morgan. And I know the past couple of years, Matt Morgan, he's made like sporadic appearances here and there on the independent circuit. At one point, he just tried to focus on, his career and everything. And I know a situation had occurred a couple of years ago involving a loved one where he needed like some medical advice, some medical help. Dixie Carter and crew, even though like he was done with Impact Wrestling, just the fact that just how much he was appreciated, by the roster and all that. Dixie Carter, kind of becoming aware of what was going on with him, did a nice little referral, able to get him the help that he needed for his family. And that was something that like he was always very appreciative of. This was something that he talked about very candidly in interviews some years back. So, but yeah, I mean, he has relatively been quiet as a result, of everything that I had just said. I mean, you think about the great career that he had in Impact, the promises. You think about what was going on with Fortune. You definitely recall the time where he was a bodyguard for Jim Cornette. You definitely think about the feuds he's had over the years. I'm definitely thinking about the teaming up that he had with Crimson. I thought that actually had like a lot of potential. I really had liked where that was going. And yeah, we saw him sparingly used in TNA, man. I mean, he would just show up here and there. Probably one of the last times we had saw him was going back 2015. He had returned as a face, and he had returned saving Vader from an attack from Bram. And then soon Matt Morgan had faced Bram at Slammiversary. Bram defeated Morgan after performing the brighter side of the suffering onto a steel chair. Morgan had later confirmed that that match that he did at Slammiversary, that was pretty much a one-time deal. And that was done in order to give his son a opportunity to see him wrestle, because years before, he was still kind of a bit young to not really comprehend all that. Wasn't at the right age just yet. So I'm actually pretty happy that Matt Morgan is back in Impact Wrestling, but at the same time, I want to see what's going to happen with him going forward. I mean, I'm excited, but I can't throw all my eggs into the basket just yet. And so that pretty much had made up JB's team, with the exception of one other or two other. And I actually got to go to my notes because I was going back and forth here and trying to see who everybody was picking here. Yeah, so Matthews picked Eli Drake as his third selection. JB announced, I got to look at the notes here. Bear with me a second here, guys. Because I swear the way they did it, it made it seem like a fourth guy was missing. So I'm just looking at this one more time. Yeah, let's pick it up from right here. Matthews announces Bram as his second pick. Right. Borash up next. He selects Chris Adonis. Chris Adonis, yes, the former WWE superstar Chris Masters. The Master Lock Challenge. I had enjoyed the hell out of that. What is he now? 40 years of age? Great to see him back. I know he was doing his thing on the independent circuits for a good amount of years. Really been kind of quiet though. I know at one point, probably one of the things that had ended his run in the WWE was when he violated the wellness policy. Does anybody like infamously remember that one? And he was gone for like X amount of days. And then like when the dude came back, he was like extremely small. Like you could tell whatever it was he was taking, your man stopped using it. And after that, he pretty much was the butt end of like so many bad jokes in the WWE. And ultimately the guy just rolled the hell out. And we saw him return to the independent circuit. He pretty much was there from like 2011, like right on up to now. Big bulk of what he's been doing off and on was for Preston City Wrestling. So, I'm happy that, we're going to be seeing him once again on TV. I thought he had a really great look. We should also note that Chris Masters, or Chris Adonis, he was doing some work for Jeff Jarrett's Global Force Wrestling promotion. He did some events for him starting as far back as like 2015. So am I a little bit surprised? Not really, especially given the fact that Jeff Jarrett is kind of reaching that ultimate goal and having Impact Wrestling and his Global Force Wrestling promotion merge. So this really doesn't surprise me to an extent, but I'm still happy. I'm very happy that we're going to be seeing this guy because he actually was a pretty damn decent wrestler, I must say. I didn't, as far as I could recall, I never saw a Chris Masters match that kind of had me go, well, this is the drizzling. So it's actually kind of cool to see him back. See, other than that, yeah, so he picked him, Chris Adonis. I'm looking at the rest of the notes here. Eli Drake as the third. Tyrus comes out. Bruce Pritchard was like, hey, you know that this is just for who the teams are going to be. And we saw Josh Matthews. He was like, nah, this is my fourth guy. Hey, guys, attack. And that's when we saw Borash announce his other guy. Yeah, this is weird. I'm seeing all the names right now, and I swear I'm missing. I'm gonna look at my notes one more time because maybe I'm fucking missing something, guys. I was taking notes. Let's look at this again together here. Make sure we are all on the same page. So Josh has Lashley, Bram, Eli Drake, Titus, right? JB's got Alberto El Patron, Chris Adonis, Matt Morgan. Yeah, I'm missing the fourth guy. Last thing I saw before Impact Wrestling had went off the air, we saw somebody that had arrived at the Impact Zone. All we saw was that they were wearing a suit. We saw their legs, kind of saw a little bit of their upper body, but we didn't know who it was. And Impact Wrestling had pretty much went off that way. So I'm going to rely to you guys. If there was a third guy that was announced, I have no freaking clue who that third guy was. So hopefully we can find out who the third guy was like before we end the stream tonight. Otherwise, yeah, that's going to be it for the show. And while I'm waiting to get that information, can I just be honest with you guys and piggy on back a second to something I was alluding to earlier, which is the problem with this match. Now, I told you guys, what exactly are the bragging rights? You know, like, is this match being done just so the announcer can say, hey, my team beat your team? Or is this a situation where somebody's going to be losing their job? Most importantly, another monkey wrench I want to throw into this, why are the wrestlers feeling so motivated that they want to step up to the plate and even do this? Why do X amount of people want to go on ahead and be Team JB? Why do X amount of people want to go on Team Josh Matthews? What is the incentive? And I think that's something that like really needed to be heightened significantly on this episode, because if you basically were to say, hey, you know, for the winning team, this is pretty much what's going to happen, you know, and all you guys that are part of that winning team, you're going to receive some really cool incentives as far as title shot opportunities, of course, with the exception to maybe the champion, in this case, Lashley. Maybe Lashley's whole deal, maybe he could be in a position where he could pick who he wants to be his next opponent, so to speak. You know, that's one option that maybe you could go with. Or maybe Lashley can get a couple of weeks off to rest up as they try to figure out who his next opponent is going to be. Somehow you got to throw incentives out there to really validate why these guys are even going to entertain this idea of, okay, I'm going to go join Team Josh. Okay, I'm going to go join Team JB. So yeah, just really freaking odd, man. By the way, I love the spot that went down towards the end of Impact Wrestling with Blueprint Matt Morgan, Lashley. I love that. Nice little prelude. I hope that's like a taste of things to come, because I think that would just be super freaking badass, man. I would really, really love to see those two guys lock it up and then lock it up for the title. Yeah, that would be pretty freaking badass. So I am looking at a screenshot right now of all the guys that are in the picture here, because I'm actually on Impact Wrestling site right now, and I see the fourth guy, but he has a hoodie on, so I can't really make out who the guy is. But I'm on their website right now, and I see who the fourth guy is. All right, so now we got the update. Team Josh is Lashley, Bram, Eli Drake, Tyrus. Team JB is Alberto El Patron, Chris Adonis, Matt Morgan, and a returning Magnus. Did anybody else catch that before Impact went off the air? I swear to God, I did not see freaking. That's why. Okay. Shout out to Randall. I see you in the chat room. That's why I was struggling there. Okay. According to Randall, they announced the last guy basically on Facebook, and he actually had went to Facebook and to the Impact Wrestling Facebook page to see the video. You can see it if you're like the fourth team. JB is Mag. Okay, he's basically saying the fourth guy, it is Magnus. Basically, when Impact Wrestling went off the air on Pop, just to confirm, we actually did not see who the fourth guy was because it ended in such like controversy. But apparently, the action had continued on Impact Wrestling's website, and I guess they also shared that stream on their Facebook page. So that's why I didn't know what the hell was going on. I thought something was kind of confusing there. Thanks, Randall. I appreciate that. So, but yeah, they definitely need to work on those areas. So hopefully they can, once again, in a nutshell, work on establishing what's going on with these talents more, as far as laying down the foundation, making you feel a little bit more invested into them. Get us connected. Tell us a little bit about their background, not necessarily origins or whatever, but plant some seeds, man. Make us really start to give a damn about some of these talents. And then, like I said, they got to work on what went down with Team JB taking on Josh. Like, what are the incentives for the people that are facing each other? Like, what's the incentives for the team that wins? What do they get out of this other than the bragging rights that they help their favorite commentator guy get a win? Like, what's the incentive for them? What is their motivation here? We need like an establishment on that. Also, like, what is the end game to this? Is Josh going to be out of a job? Is JB going to be out of a job? Like, what's the deal? So hopefully they can kind of tighten this up a little bit. Also, I got to go back. They also have a hiccup with the Andrew Everett situation, because last week you got Shane Helms. He basically says, well, I'll tell you what, go out and win this match, and, you know, we'll see what happens. So, you know, Everett wins this match, and you're like, okay, so surely that's going to make him now the number one contender. And you got the commentators, they're like, oh yeah, he for sure, he's the number one contender now. And then you go to this week, Everett cuts the promo that he does, and so you've got Shane Helms saying to him, well, go win this triple threat match. You've got the commentators, they're saying all throughout this triple threat match, oh, well, Everett has to win this. If Everett doesn't win this, he's out. He'll never get another shot at the X Division title. Okay, so he wins it, and then they say, okay, so Everett won this, but, you know, it continues to keep him in contention for a shot at the X Division champion, whether or not it's going to happen. So it's like, wait a minute, stop. You're confusing the folks at home. It can't be one or the other. Either the guy has a title shot, either he's the number one contender or he's not. If he's not the number one contender, then just say so. I would prefer it if the commentators said it just like this. Well, hey, that was a pretty impressive victory by Andrew Everett, but was that enough to impress Shane Helms to even allow him to have another shot for the X Division title? Because let's be honest, guys, the way this is looking right now, it's a little bit of a cat and mouse game. Just how much more of an impression does Everett have to make on Shane Helms to get a shot for the X Division title? If they were to go in that direction, that's more viable, is it not? You know, that's more okay. I can understand that. But to basically say, past 2 weeks now, you go out there and win this match. Oh, sure. Well, man, he won that match. Well, yeah, I would think he's number one contender. Yeah. And then you got this week, you got the commentators saying, if he doesn't win this, that's it. He's not going to get another shot for the X Division title. And then he wins it. Then you piggyback and say, oh, well, this keeps him in the contention picture. But it's like, what do you mean, but? There shouldn't be a conjunction in there. So they need to squash the hell out of that as well. Let's talk briefly about some Impact Wrestling news that came about. I definitely want to get to this before we wrap up the stream. So first off, I want to say nothing but some thoughts to my man. I believe it's DJ Z, if I'm not mistaken. I'm actually looking at the notes right now here. Yeah, it looks like it's DJ Z. I'm looking at this right now, courtesy of my good friends over at the wrestling, and it looks like DJ Z is undergoing surgery as we speak after he suffered an injury during a match for the Crash promotion less than 24 hours ago in Mexico City. And there is a video that's floating around that shows a ambulance and explained that he was immobile after taking a 450 splash. He said that the move knocked the wind out of him and he was able to stand up. Direct quote, I'm in an ambulance right now. We're not sure what's wrong. I thought maybe I broke a rib or something. I finished the match. However, just puked my guts out after the match and couldn't stand up and was basically dying and turning pale. We're going to go to the hospital and see what's wrong with me. Now, I am seeing a new update where it says the following: after a sleepless night and countless documents to get all this underway, Michael Paris is going into major surgery as I write this. Michael Paris, DJZ, he's been coherent and talking the entire time, but in excruciating pain every minute. After numerous exams, they found that the colon was fractured and bleeding internally, which was causing all the pain and discomfort. They're going to try to repair it first. And if that doesn't work, it only gets more complicated. Please keep him in your thoughts and prayers. I personally have been overrun with emotion since last night, wishing I could help him. Only thing we can do now is wait. I'll update you all as soon as anything is told to me. This basically came from Charlie Santo, who wrestles as Gringo Loco. He was with Paris, DJ Z, and wrote on Facebook that Paris was suffering multiple injuries during the match. And Santo stated that Paris, again, ruptured his colon and was bleeding internally. So you talk about, damn, that's like some crazy stuff. So both of those guys injured. Recap once again, DJ Z, he's undergoing surgery. So that's pretty much like, damn, multiple injuries. That's like so not freaking cool right now, man. Damn. Yeah, I don't know who got it more worse, man. Who you think got it worse when you hear that? You think DJ Z got it worse? Or do you think maybe or do you think maybe I don't know, man. Shit. You don't get any worse than that, do it? I ain't gonna even marinate on that anymore. And the other thing I want to talk about before we wrap up the stream here tonight, I am aware of what's been going on with Aron Rex. Look, long story short, Aron Rex had signed on to Impact Wrestling like about 5 months ago. And when you really add up how many times he showed up on Impact, you just pretty much add it all up. Roughly, he may have done about 3.5, maybe 4 months worth of tapings for Impact. And we kind of saw the Damian Sandow character, just a watered down version when he first popped up in Impact. And I was pretty ecstatic for him on Impact. I thought for sure we were going to see him really pick up where he left off with the WWE, just with more creative freedom, more opportunities, but it just died down really, 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 really quick, to the point you can just tell when you look back on his body language and all of that, he was just doing it just to be doing it. He really did not look like his heart was into it, to the point, honestly, when he showed up in Impact, I think for you hardcore Damian Sandow fans, Idol Stevens fans and all that. I think many of you guys will back me up on this. When he showed up at Impact, he actually looked out of shape. It was probably like worst shape that he's been in uh, that I can recall, honestly, period, that I can recall. So he just really did not look like he had the passion. He didn't look like he had the heart. He didn't look like he had the desire. He looked like he was just there basically just to collect a damn paycheck. I mean, does anybody remember when he won the Grand Champion? What was the title that they got right now? The Impact Wrestling Grand Slam Champion or whatever. Remember when he won that and how he was raising the belt up and all that? He just looked like, oh yeah, I got this thing. He was never smiling. All the champions that you see across every single promotion and they win the title, they've got some type of a smile on their face, man. They've got some type of a freaking smile on their face. So I mean, when you freaking see all that, you're kind of like, hey, there's a happy champion. But then you go to Aron Rex and he just looked like, okay, I got this belt. Now what? Where am I going next? Who am I working with next? That was pretty much it. So that was really kind of the first indication to me that, okay, this really isn't off to a good start. Then we see Aron Rex go in the direction of this. It felt like Gorgeous George meets RuPaul type of character. It was very flamboyant, very out there, colorful character. Really wasn't sure what to make of that gimmick. Remember, Rockstar Spud was his chauffeur or little boy toy. I don't know what the hell was up with that. But you look at that and you're kind of like, what the hell? So that was kind of weird as well. He seemed like he was really reaching with that gimmick. I didn't understand it. It was a complete 180. It just left me scratching my head. I'm sure it left many people scratching their heads. To even say that I remotely saw some type of in that gimmick, I I didn't, and then the next thing you know, he's off TV for several weeks. So you have all this silliness that's going on. Everybody's reporting that he retired. Just to kind of let you all know where this stemmed from, he did an interview a couple of weeks back, or maybe it was a couple of days ago during WrestleMania weekend. I'm not sure of the exact timetable. I know the video was posted on April 4th, I want to say, but I'm led to the impression the video had went down, if not WrestleMania week, maybe like several days prior, or maybe a week or two prior. He was at some type of a convention with Title Match Wrestling, and he alluded to the fact that he was done with Impact Wrestling. That much he did say. He said he's done with Impact Wrestling. He's no longer working for them, and that at this point he's weighing his options. He just wants to kick on back, take a little bit of a break for a while, and the way the video was titled, you're led to the impression, oh, he's retiring. He actually had to clarify on Twitter because everybody was just running with this like, hey, he's retiring. And he clarified. He said, no, for the record, I'm done with Impact Wrestling. I pretty much asked for my release. I wanted to be done with them. I honestly just wanted to test out the waters and see what other opportunities might be available to me on the horizon. I'm not saying that I'm completely done with wrestling. It's just that for now, I'm taking a break. So you hear that, you're like, and honestly, I don't blame him. I do not blame him. Honestly, I felt in my heart of hearts that maybe what he should have done after the WWE, maybe he should have gone to ROH. I thought maybe that might have been the best move for him. Going to Impact, I think significantly had hurt his stock, because at least it could have been a scenario where he's done with the WWE and he decides he wants to go over to New Japan Pro Wrestling. I think to an extent that could have worked out. But for him to go from the WWE, take a little bit of time off, it was like a couple of weeks, maybe like a month and a half, 2 months or whatever. And then he pretty much goes to Impact Wrestling. And like the honeymoon was over probably after about 2 weeks for certain when I played back all the time he had in Impact Wrestling. I remember that first week, the crowd was very excited when they saw him. And then pretty much second week going forward, honeymoon was over. It just was not really clicking. It just was not really clicking. So that fizzled out really, really quick. I think him going to Impact, that significantly hurt his stock. So, if I could give any type of advice to Aron, I would definitely say do what you got to do, man. Any wrestling promotions that maybe want to give you a holler, it's one thing if maybe they just want you to come in for a one-off event. Hey, nothing wrong with that if the price is right. They take care of your travel expenses and all that. But other than that, dude, like I would say if it's not New Japan, if it's not Ring of Honor, I wouldn't even, if it's not even Lucha Underground, I wouldn't even bother, man. Seriously, just keep doing what you're doing. So other than that, as far as Impact Wrestling news goes, that's pretty much it. So I just want to recap one more time, though, for those of you that might be joining us and you had missed the news. Impact Wrestling star Michael Paris, aka DJZ, he's undergoing surgery today after suffering an injury during a match for the Crash promotion about less than 24 hours ago down in Mexico City. And DJZ, he posted a video of a ambulance ride, and he had explained that he was immobile after taking a 450 splash, said that the move knocked the wind out of him and that he was able to stand up. And then one Charlie Santo, who wrestles as Gringo Loco, who was with DJZ last night, and wrote on his Facebook that DJZ has suffered multiple, I said that right. DJZ has suffered multiple injuries during the match. Santos stated that Paris ruptured his colon. Paris, being DJZ, ruptured his colon and was bleeding internally. Santos noted that he has never witnessed someone in more pain than him and asked fans to keep him in their prayers. So just a little bit of an update. I wanted to read that to you guys again because something told me maybe I kind of messed reporting that up earlier because I was led to the impression maybe two guys were injured in that, but it's actually just one, being DJZ. And as we all know, this isn't the first time DJZ has had some type of health issues. I remember a couple of years ago, there was some type of issue that was playing about with his colon. He was going in for something and they did some tests. And then it turned out something was up with his colon and they did some type of work. I want to say maybe he had prostate cancer, early signs of prostate cancer, and they went in and they removed it. So this isn't the first time that he's had some type of colon issues. So definitely wish him a speedy recovery. So other than that, that is pretty much going to do it. What the hell? I'm not saying this like it's a diss or anything like that, but what the hell am I scared of tall women? I do. That is, of all the questions you could ask me about all things related to Impact Wrestling, what does that have to do with Impact Wrestling? Seriously, what the hell? Anyway, I just wanted to acknowledge that just to know I am looking at the dev chat here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to shut this bad boy down. Do me a huge favor, man. If you like the coverage of Impact Wrestling, you like the coverage of the talk of wrestling, all things beyond, and you're new, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Leave your comments down below. I got this going Tuesday nights right after SmackDown goes off the air. You can catch me live over on the Spreaker.com website. If you can't catch it live, I got episodes available on the downloads. All the information you need is in the video description. For those of you that can't see the links, iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartRadio. Use the keywords, the RCWR show. And then Thursday nights, live right here on YouTube, also on the Spreaker website as we do a special simulcast. It's Impact Showdown. Comes on Thursdays, 10 p.m. Eastern, as soon as Impact Wrestling concludes on Pop TV. But yeah, throw up those thumbs up. Leave the comments. Let me know what you thought about Impact Wrestling this week. Follow me on Twitter and Facebook at the RCWR Show. And check out my Patreon page, man, patreon.com/RCWR Show. Got a lot of exclusive content for our Patreon members only. That's going to do. Appreciate those of you that posted some stuff there in the chat. Appreciate those of you that's going to be checking this out on the downloads and on demand. Wishing all y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. We'll do this again next go around. Everybody, do take care. Yay, yay. We be clubbing. Everybody likes when the girl shakes something. Don't break nothing.